Welcome to the Life Academy and our conversation about the greatest of our times. I'm Pastor Doug Pratt, offering a Christian perspective on the incredible, amazing, tumultuous, and unprecedented times in which we've lived over the past century. There has never been a period like it in history. Though humans have done many wonderful and terrible things, yet God has been at work in His quiet ways, utilizing people and changing lives as He always has been. We will be looking at how God has been active in notable people, events, and achievements through the lens of the Christian faith. This four-part series will identify what I believe to be the two greatest saints, the two greatest Christian books, the two greatest leaders, and the two greatest revivals of the past century. Hindsight helps us to see things more clearly than we can while events are unfolding. There's a good reason why history is never written while living it, and why those who presume to be experts or to understand completely everything that is occurring in their own time are so often proven wrong. Only God knows all that's happening at any given moment, and only God knows the future and how things will unfold. With some of that beneficial hindsight, I offer you my thoughts in this episode on who I believe were the two greatest saints of the past century. The word saint has been used in many different ways. The Roman Catholic Church has a very specific definition. A person in modern times, a practicing Catholic only, who has been officially canonized by the Vatican after an extensive review of their life, usually requiring that they have performed validated miracles. Some Catholics make it a practice of praying to one or more saints, seeking their intercession with God the Father. A second definition of saint emerged in the Protestant Reformation of 500 years ago, and today it is common, especially in mainline Protestant congregations, to celebrate All Saints' Day on November 1 as the day to remember those believers who died in the previous year. A careful reading of the New Testament reveals yet another use of the term. Paul and other apostles spoke of all believers in Christ as being saints. But my use of the term will be limited to the following criteria. And applying these criteria will yield the results I will share with you of the two greatest saints of the past century. Here are the terms I've established. Number one, they demonstrated a total commitment to Christ and serving Him since their childhood. Parenthetically, we will not consider those who had a prodigal son period of rejecting God before a dramatic conversion, although there are indeed some fascinating stories. Criterion number two, they were people of great public prominence and significant impact, and that impact was across many countries. Certainly there have been amazingly devout and dedicated Christ followers who are relatively or completely unknown, but we will focus on those who were used by God in a profound public witness. The third criterion, they were humble, not self-promoting. Their fame came not from writing books or public speaking or marketing themselves, but from the pure example of their lives that others witnessed. Criterion number four, they must have had no stain or scandal or personal corruption in the record of their lifetimes. And number five, they repeatedly made sacrificial choices to serve others rather than pursuing their own security, comfort, and wealth. In fact, they died poor and without regret that they owned nothing. They rejoiced that they entered eternity with nothing but their own souls and all those whom they had influenced for Christ. So without delay, here are, in my opinion, the two greatest saints of the past century. Number one, Eric Liddell, 1902 to 1945, the main character in the 1981 Oscar-winning Best Picture, Chariots of Fire, a British Olympic champion who stunned the world with his dedication to his principles. And 2, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, 1910 to 1997. Canonized by Pope Francis in 2016, the founder of a worldwide movement of ministry to the poorest of the poor. Look at the contrasts between these two. One man and one woman, one an evangelical Protestant and one a Catholic. One was born in Scotland but lived most of his life in China. The other was born in Albania and lived most of her life in India. One died very young and seemingly prematurely at age 43, while the other lived to be 87, more than twice as many years. One was a supreme physical specimen, a world-class athlete, while the other was physically small and frail. And interestingly, it was the athlete who died first. The death of one of them happened in anonymity, and the world only learned of it gradually, well after the fact, while the death of the other was front-page headline news globally. Yes, they were very different from one another, but they were exactly alike in the only way that ultimately matters. They were both completely dedicated followers of Jesus, sinners who responded to His grace in daily surrender to His will. Here are brief biographies of our two saints. Eric Liddell was born in China in 1902 to Scottish missionary parents. He attended boarding school in London and then the Edinburgh University, where it was discovered that he had remarkable athletic ability. After winning races, especially the 100 and 200-yard dashes across the UK, he was chosen to anchor their Olympic team at the 1924 Paris Games. When a qualifying heat for his best race was scheduled for a Sunday, he refused to run because of his personal dedication to that day as a Sabbath. Instead, his team offered him the 400-meter, and he won the gold medal. Returning home, he was hailed not only as a national hero, but also as a role model of the highest principles. But Eric, rather than remaining in his homeland and enjoying his fame, soon moved to China and served as a humble missionary there for the rest of his life. China was being gradually conquered by the cruel and marauding Japanese, and eventually he was imprisoned with other Westerners in an internment camp. Eric continued to minister to his fellow prisoners until he died suddenly of a brain tumor, obviously without proper medical care that might have saved his life, and this just a few months before the war ended. Slowly the word got out to the wider world of his passing, and multiple memorial services of mourning were held for him. Mother Teresa, with the birth name of Agnes Bojaciu, was born in 1910 in a devout Roman Catholic family in Albania, a country controlled at that time by the Muslim Ottoman Turks. She made a total commitment to Christ in her youth and felt a call to become a nun. She moved to Ireland to study and learn English, and then was ordained and moved to India. She served as a teacher in a Catholic mission school for several years. And then, on a brief trip to the sprawling city of Calcutta, soon after World War II had ended, she witnessed for the first time the desperate poverty and hopelessness of people in the slums, lacking food and housing and medical care. The Hindu-dominated Indian government had no sympathy for the lower classes, who they believed were living miserable lives because of some shameful things done in previous incarnations. Teresa's Christ-inspired compassion for them led her to request a transfer to Calcutta, and she began immediately to provide care and love to the sick, the dying, the lepers, the homeless, and the orphans. She pleaded with the Catholic Church to allow her to form a new order, which she labeled the Missionaries of Charity. This movement grew dramatically and spread worldwide, building centers of mission work, hospices, orphanages, soup kitchens, schools, and clinics. And it's found today in most major cities in over 130 countries, including the U.S. Over 5,000 nuns are in the order today, along with over 300 male priests in the companion order. Gradually, global recognition for this woman's unquenchable spirit and her passionate vision made her a celebrity, but she never sought any honors or rewards. The heritage she left behind is not only the millions of needy people who have found loving care, but also the thousands who have been inspired to offer their lives in selfless service after her example. After several years of declining health, Mother Teresa died of heart failure in 1997. Ironically, her death came in the same week as that of Princess Diana of England. The contrast between the two is dramatic. Diana was young and beautiful and famous and adored by millions of fans, a fashion trendsetter and relentless focus of paparazzi. Teresa was old and unattractive. Diana died suddenly in a violent car crash in Paris with her current lover. Teresa slipped quietly away in her small room in her convent. Diana lived a troubled life of mental illness, addiction, divorce, and unhappiness. Teresa lived a selfless life of complete dedication to others. Diana was eulogized at Westminster Abbey with Elton John singing as the whole world watched. Teresa was quietly buried in Calcutta. Which woman's legacy do you think will continue to endure and inspire people in the centuries to come? Two amazing people of the last century, Eric Liddell and Mother Teresa, they were and are heroes of faith. Their lives demonstrated the best of what can happen when a person prays from the heart every day, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done." This is Doug Pratt for the Life Academy, inviting you to join me in the next episode when we will identify the two greatest books of the last century.